Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors, and today we're going to be talking about weight gain in recovery. And this is one of the hardest topics for people who are recovering from eating disorders, I think. It certainly was hard for me, and it is something I get asked about a lot when people are writing in for advice or suggestions. The weight gain aspect is very difficult, whether it's because of the way your clothes begin to fit or not fit, whether it's because of the way your body looks to you in the mirror, whether it's because of comments other people make to you about the weight gain, or whether it's because of the number on the scale creeping up. Sometimes it's all of the above, which makes it really awful, but everybody has their little things about weight gain that they find very hard. And I think it's really important to remember that even though weight gain might seem like a bad thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing when you look at it with the logical part of your brain, because while losing weight gives you that sense of control and that sense of accomplishment, it can also mean that you're making yourself very unhealthy. And just because you're gaining weight doesn't mean you're gaining fat. And just because you're gaining weight, even if some of that is fat and much needed fat, it doesn't mean that you're going to be fat. It just means that you are getting to a healthy level. I realize that there are all different eating disorders, so not everyone has to deal with weight gain in recovery from their particular eating disorder, but it is a very, very real issue and a very, very big issue for many people struggling with anorexia, many people struggling with EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, meaning you fall into a bunch of different categories and probably have anorexic tendencies. And a lot of bulimics do become underweight, and they might struggle with this as well. There are purging anorexics. There are all different kinds of eating disorders. I don't like to classify people as an eating disorder. I don't think people are their eating disorders. I don't like to put people into categories. People are people, and everyone is recovering from something. So that's not important, but I know that weight gain can be very real. There are a lot of different issues when it comes to weight gain. I did a video quite a while back called the Plateau, and the video was basically me reading a blog post that was from a few years ago about the plateau that you reach when you're in recovery. When you have gained weight, but you are sort of stabilized and maintaining, and you're not really getting any worse, which is an accomplishment, but you're not really getting any better either. And I think this plateau happens for a lot of people, and it can be a roadblock in the whole weight gain arena. But I also did a video before about clothing and how a smaller size is not a prize, and that also really goes along with this topic. And in the past I have done a few other videos that relate as well. Once, a while back, someone asked me a question that they talked about the vicious cycle, and whenever they're underweight and they're liking their body, they feel happy with themselves, but they know it's not healthy, so they try to gain weight and they get to a set point, but then when they get to that set point, they don't like their body, so they're sad and they're nervous and they start restricting again, and then they're underweight. And whenever they're underweight, they go back to the beginning, and it just repeat that whole scenario over and over again, and that's their life. And this person asked me, how can they like their body when they're at their set point weight? How can they break the vicious cycle? And I did a blog post called The Vicious Cycle. The problem may be an obsession with numbers. It shouldn't be so much about the weight as it should be about being healthy and well. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. Is there any way that you can stop knowing the number? That's what you want to ask yourself. Get rid of a scale. Let your nutritionist weigh you, but don't let her tell you what your weight is. That way you'll know sort of how well you're doing if you're gaining or losing, but you won't have to start feeling badly about yourself because you'll be unaware of the actual number. A lot of the time we can start to feel unhappy with our bodies as we know the number goes up, but if you simply start looking healthy, You might not hate it as much if you don't see a number on a regular, frequent basis. I know for me, the numbers were so big, so scary. I always wanted them to be lower. When they would creep up, they would make me nervous, anxious, panicking. If that's the way that you know you are and you get obsessive about a number, that's something that you need to stay away from, and you need to recognize that. Part of the reason that you like your body when you're underweight is because you know you are underweight, and that in itself is not healthy. And it's a mental health thing. It sounds like part of the reason people dislike their body when they get to their set weight is because they know they've reached their set weight, and that's scary because it was like this goal that they feared, and it was a number that they never wanted to be. So stop thinking of this healthy set weight as a number. Forget the numbers in your life. Realize that being healthy is the only way you can live your life. Happiness may not immediately follow being healthy. And that is the biggest sentence here. Happiness may not immediately follow being healthy. You can even prepare yourself for being unhappy when you have reached your set weight. But the unhappiness won't last if you try to accept the set weight and do not allow yourself to restrict. You have to have the willpower. You have to understand that you may not like gaining weight. Most people don't, but you have to do it anyway for a time. Tell yourself, I don't like this, but I have to do it anyway. Life isn't fair, and the rest will follow. It's much easier to keep your mind happy and healthy if your body is healthy too. If you're at a set weight for a short period of time, weeks, a few months, before you begin restricting and turning to old ways, it's simply not enough time to adjust to your healthy weight and come to terms with everything that surrounds it. You never give yourself that chance. You're robbing yourself of progression. You can't progress in recovery if you keep sabotaging yourself. It might take a lot of pain and tears and frustration, but if you can allow yourself to stick with the healthy weight for longer than you have, you may find that things don't stay as difficult as you found them to be. Often when we are underweight, we're happy with our appearance, but we're not really happy in all things. What you want is total happiness, not just happiness with a body that you're forcing into a lower than natural weight. And I think that on some level, most of you out there know that. It's just a matter of forcing yourself to take responsibility for your actions. And I know the cycle continues almost without you realizing. Believe me, I've been there, but in order to break it, you have to be conscious, extremely conscious. You have to make yourself stick with it. Employ the assistance of a nutritionist, your therapist, your significant other, your family members, your best friend, whatever it takes. When you hit that healthy weight, you know what will happen because you've done it many times before. You know the vicious cycle is ready to start. You know you're going to want to restrict. So you know what to look for. Use that as a strength. You know what to stop. So it's a strength. It's not a weakness. Turn your thinking around. And just remember, it's not all about a number. The weight is silly. Focus on being healthy and forget the scale. And there are professionals who can monitor your weight for you right now without you having to do it if need be. When attempting to recover physically, it's important to try to forget about numbers and just eat when hungry. Consume a healthy amount, exercise if you want to, but don't overdo it, and never compare yourself to someone else or your recovery process to someone else's. I didn't have a goal weight I wanted to reach to be healthy again. Why focus on a number when that's all I'd been doing in the past? I chose instead to focus on feeling good and strong, and I just got to the point where I gained, and then as my healthy lifestyle became normal for me, I maintained and continue to maintain. You reach a point where your body is comfortable, and everyone's bodies are different. Don't try to compare, just try to be healthy and let your body fill out as it wants and needs to. There are all different body frames, lifestyles, athletic, active, sedentary, etc., and different genetic factors as well. One person's recovery weight will not be the same as another's, even someone who is the same height as you are. And that is in big italics. Everyone's recovery weight will not be the same, even if your friend or your recovery buddy or someone you know and look up to is the same exact height as you are. Focus on you, not someone else or what someone else says. I was always very thin, so I can't say that I got back to a normal weight. I just finally got to a weight that was right for me, and it happens to be the most I've ever weighed. But I was growing before. I was a child, I was an adolescent, and when I was no longer a child and an adolescent, I was seriously ill and much too thin. So you can't always use previous weights as a gauge of, where you want to be, because if I were to go back to where I was before I had ever established anorexia, I would still be much too thin, because I'm a grown woman, and everything changes in life, and weight's going to fluctuate, and you have to let that be okay. You have to live in the moment, you have to live in the now. I found a maintainable weight for me. I eat 3 meals plus snacks. I never restrict. I try to run. I don't really have time to do that right now, to be perfectly honest with you, so I don't exercise very much, which might shock a lot of people out there who are exercise nuts. But even when I ran, I only ran 1 mile or 2 miles at the most, and only a few times a week. And that said, I'm only 26, so if years go by and I gain a few more pounds, I won't be upset. I can gain some and still feel okay and be healthy. Recovery can only be about you. If you don't like yourself, you'll never like the way you look, no matter what your weight is. As you gain weight in an effort to recover, try also to gain perspective. Without it, weight, low or high, won't matter. A reader had asked me about meal plans and eating normally, and I would like to read you my response to her. She also asked me if I actually liked my body, and I responded to that, and I think that really applies to this question. So expanding on meal options is always difficult. You're not alone, and it might take some time to get adjusted and feel comfortable. Don't give up if you feel uncomfortable with the expansion the first few times, or even the first several times. If you have a dietitian or nutritionist, they can help you with expanding the foods that you're eating in order to gain some weight. If you aren't seeing one and you have been following a meal plan, you can, make a couple of appointments just to sort of expand that meal plan with someone healthfully and comfortably, so that you are not panicking. You can also create a meal plan for yourself by talking to other people and figuring out, what they might be eating, to sort of, if you really have no clue what normal is, that might help a little bit as well. But a dietitian is going to be able to tailor some meals for you. He or she can hopefully give you some sample ideas you can try to incorporate. Don't get stuck on the word normal. There is no normal meal. Normal is something different to everyone, and we all have different needs and likes. I would try to list 5 foods that you enjoy and see what's out there recipe-wise for them, forgetting about portion, calories, nutrition for a minute. Print a few recipes that look good to you and maybe bring them to your psychologist or therapist or dietitian, or sit down with them yourself and discuss them. Getting people's opinions can help you see if they look sufficient meal-wise, calorie-wise, nutrition-wise, and they might help validate your opinion of whether or not they're good meals for you. And then as far as if I like my body, I do in fact like my body, and at first, years ago, when I was putting on weight, I was just accepting it, but in time, I grew to like it and even love it, and I know it might sound unbelievable, but it's true. And there was a time that I could never imagine weighing what I do currently, because I thought it was impossible, for one, and 2, I thought I wouldn't be me if I was the weight that I currently am, and 3, I just thought it was too much. And I stand here corrected. I stand corrected. I'm very happy with myself, but it does take time, so you have to be patient. You'll get there, and I think patience is a very hard lesson to learn. I certainly am not the most patient person in the world, and I have many more lessons to learn where patience is concerned. But in recovery from anything, patience is key. Okay, everyone, I hope you'll check out those other videos so I don't talk your ear off today if you want to hear more about weight gain and recovery suggestions. And I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.